I don't give a fuck, bitch! Welcome to the first episode of Did You Bro and Best Guy Ever. That's you.
Dick and Morty time, baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah,
baby.
Yeah.
We're talking about Rick and Morty, everybody. Season 3. Season 3. The season 3 premiere came out on April 1st on Adult Swim. It was a big deal. Everybody was excited about it. And we're thinking about maybe talking more about the rest of Season 3. So here we are, starting things off with that episode.
Rick and Morty is like my favorite show ever.
It's just rewatching that episode again just now. It's really hard to argue that show isn't like the most dense with high quality content show anywhere right now.
I mean, that's what I love about it. It's so dense.
There's
so
much
dense. Information.
Every single shot has so much going on. Yeah.
It's fantastic. I was a huge fan of the first season. Watched it like 5 times.
Yeah.
Still haven't really rewatched season 2. I intended to do that before 3 started, and then 3 seemingly had started out of nowhere.
Us. Yeah.
But then it hasn't actually. It was just a weird April Fool's thing. Confused the shit out of me because I was in Atlanta when it came out. I didn't get the chance to see it.
Right.
And then every week I was like, why am I not hearing about the new season of Rick and Morty?
Sounds like you were out of it.
I thought I was just missing episodes and no one was telling me somehow. Man. I was really confused. But
so let me just talk about how great this was as an April Fool's episode. So April Fool's every year is terrible because everyone like tricks you and says like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this," and then I'm not gonna do it, and then you're disappointed.
Am I the only one who loves April Fools?
Yes, like, we were all complaining about it, but the rest of the PCP were all shitting on it.
I love April Fools because people always, it depends on who it is. Some people just do some bullshit, but like, I love when people pull out all the stops to do some crazy shit.
Well, that's what makes it good.
Like if you follow the old webcomic XKCD, like every year he would do some kind of like insane shit, like turn his entire website into a fucking text adventure game or something, like some crazy programming shit.
Well, that's fine.
It used to be that websites would really go all out and make like a crazy thing for April Fool's Day, and it was always exciting to see like what everybody was doing that day. And I historically have always made April Fool's videos that I
what you're describing is the good side of April Fool's, but there is the downside, whereas people say like, oh, Half-Life 3 is out.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so excited. Oh, it's not actually out. Okay, fuck you. But this episode is
Watch
exactly
your fucking calendars, people. That's all I'm saying.
Everyone loves fucking Rick and Morty. Everyone agrees it's fantastic. To like on April Fools, get this like loop of the new episode that is so legitimately good and well crafted and has even the episode itself has a ton of misdirects, as Rick and Morty episodes tend to do. Like, this is exactly what an April Fool's should be. We're getting more. We're not being cheated or lied to. Right. We're just getting extra stuff. That's what you should celebrate about the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to April Fool's is to,
of course.
To make an actual
surprised
product.
by people by giving them more shit, by making them happy as opposed to pissed off. Yeah. That's what I like.
Though personally, I think you should just know what day it is. It's
not
hard to know April 1st is coming. I don't know.
But see, that's
maybe because I make a big deal out of it. Like, I always have plans for April Fool's, so I know it's coming.
But that just means
nothing can trick me.
One day of the year, you just be like, "Oh, everything's a lie today. No one is telling me the truth today." That's just annoying. I don't want that. Maybe it's a nice change of pace. I guess I fucking get pissed off by it. But anyway, forget that.
To me, it's like the classic festivals, the masquerade.
Yes.
Like, no one's themselves today. It's an escape from the normalcy, and everyone can just do well. And again, I think it's been hurt by the fact that the internet is now the internet's now real life, and like there are real life repercussions of changing everything.
Right.
Where like 10 years ago, YouTube did a thing where the entire front page, everything linked to Rickroll.
Right.
YouTube could never do that now because it would hurt too many people's careers.
That's true.
And it would be a huge fucking deal. So like now their April Fool's is always like some lame shit you have to actually go find.
Yeah.
And click on. It's like, oh, I already know what it's gonna be. I know it's April Fool's Day. You can't fucking trick me today, you know. But I miss when sites would do. I mean, fucking 4chan still does like. They'll have like a song looping in the background of the entire fucking website.
And you know what? That is annoying, but 4chan is not really essential for anybody. So that's more okay. It doesn't really interfere with your day.
Anyway, Rick and Morty.
Yeah. I feel like that's an appropriate interlude to discuss Rick and Morty anyway.
Well, I don't know how long we plan for these podcasts to be, but we can go on as long as we need to. This is a pilot episode, and we don't know when we're going to be covering the next one. We don't know when it'll be out.
No one knows when the episodes are going to be out. So.
And I mean. This episode, like the biggest question on everyone's minds was like season 2 ended on a huge fucking cliffhanger.
Right.
How are they gonna start off? You know, they have to open season 3 with something kind of epic.
Yep.
And the show opens up by lampooning this.
Of course.
Like, it starts off with this joke that they're all in a Shoney's and, oh, who wants to hear about how I escaped from prison? Like, that would be stupid. And, like, it's, like, I'll even admit, like, even though I knew I'd heard spoilers for this episode before I watched it, even though I knew that, I still had that reaction of, like, oh, you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You know? But then, of course, when it turns out to be a lie, it's like, oh, okay.
That's exactly that April Fool's spirit I love. They act like they're fucking you over, and then they give you everything you wanted, and it's so great. Oh, and the actual shit that Rick does, it turns out it was all part of his fucking plan, and they do this whole rigmarole with all this new technology of, like, mind transferring we haven't seen before. Oh, it's the best.
Yeah. So this episode continues a sort of trend that I saw happening through season 2, and especially with the ending of season 2, of, I feel like Rick and Morty owes a lot to Game of Thrones.
Yeah?
Like, I think the way that this show uses, like, brutal violence, is sort of like, because we are now in a culture where that's like a normal thing on mainstream television, like insanely violent scenes.
Has
happening
HBO
to, like,
become mainstream television, or is it just the popularity of the show?
Like, yeah, because HBO now is way more easily accessible.
Well, HBO
and
it used
torrents are a thing.
Well, yeah, but it
you know, Game of Thrones is the most torrented show of all time.
I believe it.
It had like millions and millions of torrents.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So everyone's seen it. Everyone has seen Game of Thrones. It's that's the culture we're in now, is like that this kind of hyper-violent, like, crazy, dark shit is what gets talked about. And, I mean, the ending of Season 2 was clearly a Game of Thrones parody. It was a Red Wedding.
Yeah.
It was the Red Wedding, like, redone in Rick and Morty. And I just love the way the show, it totally, like, gets into the headspace of, like, who is the audience of Rick and Morty? Like, what kind of cultural stuff are we... Because, like, a lot of the show is in reference to, like, cultural touchstones and stuff. Like, there's lots of movie parodies. There's, like, a whole episode where they're on the Purge planet. It's like...
which was great.
What would it be like if there's a planet that does the Purge?
And the way they dryly and matter-of-factly address, like, what a real Purge planet would be... I mean, in their lampooning way, it's great. It's wonderful. And
so when they do, like, a Red Wedding scene, like, they know exactly how the audience is going to feel at every step of the way. And the moment that, like, really... I mean, that episode is fucking amazing. A lot of shit happens in that episode. But the moment that got me the most was right after Bird Person gets shot. Yeah. Then Rick screams, like, "Bird Person, no!" And literally he said that while I was saying, "No, Bird Person!" And, like, it's like 1-to-1, me and Rick saying it at the same time. And I'm like, because they knew that that's what the audience was going to do. They knew you were going to yell, "No, Bird Person," you know, and so they matched it. And it's like, they totally get the ebb and flow of your feelings and stuff. And, like...
It's well written, man. It's well written.
There's so many... Like, there's so much stuff that they've allowed themselves... This show does what, like, My Little Pony fucked up with its background characters.
Oh, yeah. You're right. It makes you care about them in a real way. I mean, in all fairness, it was one episode that was garbage that pretty much ruined that whole thing.
What I mean is that, like, in MLP fandom, for anybody who doesn't know, because we're a few years out from it, and people probably don't know what we're talking about anymore. The fan base of My Little Pony, like, really ran with every random fucking background character that was in the show.
Yeah.
They all had, like, fan-made backstories, and, like, people had all these ideas about them, and, like, each one was a popular character in their own right, because they would show up in the background all the time, or have, like, one line here and there, and stuff like that. And so all those background characters became kind of famous, and eventually the show writers became aware of this, and they kind of tried to do something with it, and it was terrible. Granted, some people don't agree. Some people,
you know, there were some decent things, like the way they handled the fact that Bon Bon had, like, two canon, or, like, there was a fandom name and a real name. They made her a secret agent with an alias. Like, that's one clever way to handle that kind of a thing, but there were many things that were bad and shitty.
Just that the episode itself
The episode
terrible.
Was garbage, so,
Like, and just the general way that they tried to, like, they're trying to pander to the audience, but it's like they're trying to give us what we are saying we want.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty knows what we want, and gives it to us in ways we don't expect, such as it's got all these background characters who people just naturally started caring about. People loved Bird Person. People loved, all these random, weird, wacky characters.
That fucking cat dude whose name I forget?
Squanch.
Squanch, yeah. Squanchy.
And instead of, like, giving us some fan service episode where it's like, hey, it's all your favorite background characters. They murder all of them.
Yeah.
And it makes it even more memorable because it's like, instead of just like, oh, here's Bird Person again. We know you love Bird Person. Here you go. Have as much Bird Person as you want. No, like the second or third episode he's in, he gets fucking shot and dies.
Yeah.
And it's like, because they know you actually do care about him in this weird way. This guy with like 2 lines, but he's such an endearing character that when he gets shot, you're like, oh no, not Bird Person. But it's also that like they can get away with that because it never feels too dark because of the fact that they're all just dumb background characters.
Yeah.
Like a guy, you see a guy get shot whose name is like Schmoopy Doop or something, or Poopy Butthole.
Mr. Poopy Butthole.
Poopy
Yeah.
Butthole. You know, like it's the scene is like drawing out like this pathos and everything, and it's like everyone's crying and shit like that, and like on some level it hits you emotionally because you kind of care about Poopy Butthole.
Not to mention,
but it's not like they murdered your favorite character who you really care about.
And a lot of that has to do with the way that Rick himself is such like an antisocial, whatever, misanthrope. And am I using that word right? The one who hates people?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's the one who hates men. I'm not saying that. It's the other thing. But like the way he doesn't give a fuck about anyone, and the way that he does react when Bird Person dies, and like continually has this relationship with him, and he talks about like, yeah, we fought in the wars, like we were buddies. To actually have that character care about someone makes us care about them too, and makes their death all the more impactful. So from that perspective too, it really works.
I definitely think that like because Rick is presented as someone who's like so over the edge and like doesn't care about anything. Yeah, anytime he emotes, it feels serious. Like it's that much more impactful. Like when he tries to kill himself in episode 3
after dating that girl and being like cut off. Oh my god! And I know Jesse freaks out about that episode.
Yeah.
That one's devastating.
Oh my god! Just because it's like
Legion? No, whatever.
You just
Unity,
go like,
Unity.
oh my god! It's like he does like that. My favorite thing about Rick and Morty, and I know Tommy Oliver had a problem with this aspect of the show. He thought it was ruining Rick that they showed so much emotion. That's my favorite thing about the show is that there is this like empathy. Like at heart, he is highly empathetic, and the reason he acts this way isn't because he hates people. It's because I think he cares too much about people, and he knows that like the universe is an unchanging, unfeeling, like monstrous place. Like caring about people is just going to lead to pain, so don't do it.
It's like he's a man who's gained the knowledge of a god and is, aware of how insignificant everything is, and it's really fucked him up.
And he's like, how can I bring myself to give a shit about people when I know what's gonna that they are nothing, But then like he can't help himself because he is still human.
That's true.
So like sometimes he can't help but care, And like if he really falls in love like he did in that episode and loses out, and I mean it's not even just that, it's also that he's drunk and he gets you emotional, and like he's fucked up on drugs and shit, and it's like that's the moment when you're like, he could have easily killed himself then if he hadn't passed out.
He really tried. He really put his best effort.
Really like did it and it just failed.
The fact that he didn't pussy out, he went all the way and really tried to do it. I mean, it's been said, but that's
such
intense
a
moment.
Fucking great scene. And and then when we see like with this at the end of season 2 when he's like, what are you in for? And he says everything. It's like, he finally realizes, I can't bring myself to say I don't care about my family.
But of course, all this, I mean, we were saying this too, but all this you can compare to, is in parallel to how, like, him turning himself in at the end of the second season, to supposedly save his family and, like, give them back the life that he stole from them, was actually, I mean, and it's kind of ambiguous, but it seems like it was actually all part of a plan to depose Jerry as patriarch of the family and become, like, the ruler and get Morty exclusively, because he's so evil and fucked up.
That's the thing about it, is that with Rick, you can never say for sure.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I personally think that, like, I think that he is ultimately empathetic, because we've seen him do it in like when he tried to kill himself. No one was there to witness that. There was no benefit to that. When he goes back, like the first moment we really see Rick act that way is when Morty gets like almost raped by the Jelly Bean King.
Yeah.
And Rick like when he realizes like that Morty's upset, he like changes gears and like tries to comfort him.
Yeah.
And like leads him, and then he shoots the Jelly Bean King just out of
I
anger,
love the fact that he murdered that guy because he deserved it. Yeah. He didn't pussy out.
Well, that's one of my favorite scenes in the show because of the fact that it's like it shows that Rick like even though he doesn't care in general, like, he saw something happening right in front of him to someone he does kind of care about, and so he was like, well, I can do something about this. I can kill that guy.
You know what? That kind of speaks to a fundamental, like, psychological, facet that humans have, where we're much more empathetic about things that are directly in front of us, as opposed to, like, news that there are billions of people dying elsewhere.
Well, because it just, when you hear how big it is, you're like, I can't do anything about that.
But it's interesting to me.
It's just like, oh, well, I literally know I can do something about this because it's right in front of me.
It's interesting to me that even a character like Rick, who is the smartest man in the universe, even he, like, retains that perspective, that very human perspective.
And that's the thing, like, when you first meet the Council of Ricks and everything, like, it's established that he's, like, right on the edge between, like, being the evil, like if you're slightly more evil than him, you're an evil fucking master villain.
Yeah.
But if you're slightly more righteous than him, then you're like a
little bitch. I don't know.
Like he's right in the perfect interstice to be the most interesting Rick, which is why we follow this Rick.
Right. Right. It's really he's a real reflection of humanity, like a certain perspective of what a human being is. You can see in that. It's real cool.
So this episode accomplishes a lot of things that I wanted to have. Like after season 1 of Rick and Morty, like, my biggest thing that I wanted to happen in season 2 was for Beth and Jerry to split up.
Right.
Like, because the way I saw it was, like, season 1 was constantly suggesting it, and, like, this is a show that has plot progression, so, like, let's do it. Let's do away with this nuclear family dynamic, like, because the first season was constantly bouncing between, like, home life and crazy sci-fi A-plot, you know? And, like, it did sometimes feel a little restricted by the fact that it had to do, like, normal shit.
The cutaways to the Jerry and Beth bits are almost every time the worst part of the episode.
Yeah, even when they're good. Like, they're not always bad.
The Gazorpazorp stuff with them is actually great, and is probably the best part of that particular episode. Yeah. But not every time. They are, in general, they're the weakest part.
Or the TV episode.
Oh, did I say Gazorpazorp? I meant to say Mr. Meeseeks. I meant to say Mr. Meeseeks.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, it's just that it felt very explored in season 1, so, I was really hoping that season 2 would, like, start off with them getting divorced. Yeah. And it didn't happen. Instead, season 2 went even heavier on the divorce element. It did. Again, it had... Ultimately, the episodes were good, but I was just like, I get it. Yeah. I want these two split up because this is going to go on forever, and, like, I feel like we've done everything we can with it. Yeah. So the fact that this episode, a big part of it is getting Jerry out of the picture, and, like, the way that Rick talks to Morty at the end is obviously meta. He's, like, describing to Rick, or to Morty, like, we have done this as writers. But then, we are writing Jerry out of the show to get rid of him because we're sick of him.
Though, in the context of a character saying these things to Morty, it's just so wonderfully black and dark and evil. It's great. It's fantastic.
He's like, your father crossed me.
Your father and the entire galactic government crossed me, so I got rid of them both. What a fucking badass. That's so sick. God, I love Rick.
And it just, like, what I love about this show is it's never content to just be status quo. I mean, that's what most episodic comedy shows like this, they have to have this baseline thing they can always return to, this sense of normalcy that's kind of in the background, and it can be hard to change that and break away from it. And, like, I was really scared that after season 2, like, are we always going to have this Beth Jerry thing going on? Like, this is getting tiring, And they did some, like episode 2 of season 2, where they have Jerry in the daycare, was fucking genius.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That's a great way to do a Jerry B plot. But, like, Jerry's, he can't develop as a character because it would defeat the point.
That's right.
He's a character who's, like, inherently static, and he's boring now, so let's get rid of him, and they did. They cut him out, and I'm like, I fully expect him to not show up throughout season 3.
Yeah, I think it would a little undercut what they're going for here if he just was back.
Exactly. And then they're also doing away with the Rick Federation thing, because obviously that's limiting in a way that, like, it always puts Rick, like, there's a definitive opposition he has that's always around, and it's like, we've explored a lot of it, and I mean, it's not that they couldn't have done more with it, but, like, having it there means, like, there's certain rules we've established, like, Rick can't do this because the council will intervene. There's certain things that, like, we've made it so if this or this happens, we have to involve these characters. And so I see the writers going, all right, that's too limiting. We want to do crazier shit. We want to make it so Rick can do those things.
It's very exciting that they're changing things on such a level. That really is a good sign.
So now we've taken out, like, the entire power structure of the universe.
Yeah,
and
the
they can
galactic government and the Ricks.
reestablish
Yeah,
things.
right.
You know, like from here, the show can go anywhere, and there's nothing there's no like system that was in place that's gonna hold it back from doing whatever
My only kind of fear was that they really had established, like, those were, as you were saying, like, they were the highest level authorities that existed.
Yeah.
And it's a little hard to imagine, like, what could easily replace those. It's going to take some creativity. So and I highly anticipate what
I
we
wouldn't
see.
be surprised if we got, like, Rick forming a new government himself or something.
Well, there's
or,
no
like,
Rick would be. I mean, he might do that just to, like, deal with the problem and then divorce himself
Yeah.
from it. Because he can't be involved in bureaucracy,
no, not
of
at
course.
all. But, like, yeah.
Just like he did with the devil shop
maybe
thing.
it just turns the fucking whole world completely anarchic, or the whole universe goes to anarchy or something, you know? Like,
That's...
like maybe this whole season is just like batshit insanity all the time.
The only reason I think they won't go that way is because that is a little bit harder to write for than I expect them to go for. Yeah.
I mean,
There is a bit of a formula here that I think they generally want to stick to.
Yeah, I'm just really curious where we're gonna go with no Jerry and no Rick Council, which, like, you know, it's almost sad because, like, the Rick Council is such a cool idea.
I know, I loved it.
That I could have watched it forever.
It's such
but
a...
then at the same time, yeah, it's really ballsy to just kill
Yeah.
them, like, to take this great idea and say, we've done all we want to do with it, let's just, like, make sure you know as a viewer that it's gone, you know?
They really hammered in those points. And I just love, I mean, this is just a compliment of the entire show, how logically consistent everything is. Like, with Rick having an interdimensional portal gun, of course, there would something like the Rick thing would develop, and the way it impacts his character. Because he has the portal gun, he developed this, lack of care about anyone and anything in his life, because there's literally infinite copies of him. It doesn't matter what he does at any point, and these Ricks are going to form their federation to live their, like, own outside existence, outside any kind of, like, galactic government that existed. It's just, and everything's just so consistent and wonderful, and it's just why the show is so good.
And, continues one of my favorite things about Rick and Morty is how breakneck it is. There's the scene where the Rick Council breaks into the alien thing, and just Rick himself gets shot in the face immediately.
Yeah.
Our Rick, we see, get fucking shot in the face. And it's like, whoa, but you also kind of know that he just leapt, so it's just like, you're barely able to keep up with the things that are happening. It's like, people are getting shot, people are taking a shit, it's a wild ride,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go take a shit.
That's a great recurring thing. I think he's using that as, like, his, I need to leave this room now and go do other stuff. I gotta take a shit.
And it's just because no one would question anyone saying that.
And it's the great way they use the dialogue in such a snappy pace. Like, he walks into the room and is like, whoa, you can't be in here. This is the room where if you press a couple buttons and knobs, it, like, teleports the entire Citadel. He's like, well, you probably shouldn't have designed it that way. Beep, boop, beep, explosion.
Yeah.
Plot moving along.
And
breakneck.
you immediately, like, the very first thing you see is, it's just a shot of the Citadel reappearing inside what is clearly the world government. And it's just like, yeah, everything's done now. Like, in that one shot, we totally understand that both of those governments are just gone.
Yeah,
and it's just like, well, moving along.
And they spoon feed you a little bit. They're just like, oh no, we teleported here. Everything bad's happening. It's great. It's really good.
Yeah. All the Ricks getting shot, the brutal, and Ricks and Morty's getting killed left and right. And again, it's all like a pre-established background character, so, like, you care a little, like,
rest in peace, Hammer Morty.
Yeah,
Rest in peace,
like,
Hammer
Morty is just like some weird background, like, gag, like, oh, what if one of the Mortys is a hammer? And in this one, we see the Rick wielding the hammer Morty, like, beating people to death with it, and then it gets shot, like, so it serves its one other purpose it could have. Like, it has two purposes. One, to be a random background gag. Two,
and then to die.
Be used as a Chekhov's gun.
Right.
And then to just get killed. It's like, perfect. That's all we needed from him. He never has to show up again.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be like, once per season, oh, here's Hammer Morty.
Yeah,
again,
like, you don't want to be pulling, like, an Adventure Time style party god and, like, try to make this ridiculous character that should show up exactly once into, like, a regular character. Yeah, that's the mistake, and they don't do that here. Thank God. How about that Szechuan sauce? How about the whole memory sequence where, I mean, I had to watch this twice to really understand what was going on. So that he does this whole thing where, so he's been captured and they're trying to extract memories from it, and he's got this, like, so Rick immediately figures this out, and the way he plays them, and, they do the fake out where, like, they're exploring his memories. They're like, hey, you better go to the place where you invented your interdimensional travel gun. And so that he thinks, they think that he's leading them to that. And we see, in the midst of that, we see, like, his his wife, the mysteriously absent wife, mother of Beth character that everyone's been wondering about. And then, like, it plays you the whole way. And then when you get to the end, both the way that he came up with the interdimensional portal gun, and the mother character were both fictional. They were not real. So they got played and we got played at the same time.
I mean, I was suspicious of that memory because it seemed way too straightforward for how his wife and daughter died. Like, and also, why would Beth have gotten blown up in the explosion?
Well, interdimensional, went to another one, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, that was... As soon as that happened, I was like, well, what the hell? That's not the real story, because Beth can't be dead unless he was going to rebuild her. But, like...
I mean, we've already seen Rick abandon one Beth and just get a new one.
That's true.
We've seen that in the show.
Yeah.
Incidentally, we get to see the world, the Cronenberg world, that was abandoned, which was great. I love that.
Yeah, the Cronenberg world comes back. And once again, we bring back the Cronenberg world. It's a great reference to an old joke. Immediately, all three of them get frozen, probably dead. So we don't have to go back there again.
Yeah, I am content to know, like, it's good to know what these characters are doing, because these were the characters that we grew up with through all of season 1, and to just see them, they're doing fine. Don't worry about it. That makes me happy.
Now.
I bet they'll be okay. I know that actually freezing totally will actually kill you, but it's magic space guns. So.
Well, I mean, the first episode, someone got frozen and immediately fell and broke to pieces.
They didn't fall and break to pieces, so maybe they're okay.
Yeah.
By the way, can we talk about how great and, like... So the thing that we're wondering is, so Rick's got his plan, but what are, like, Morty and Summer gonna do? I mean, I personally was wondering, like, what agency can, like, Morty and Summer do to, like, get involved in the plot again? And the idea of digging up the dead Rick and finding his portal gun, that gives them an in back into, like, actually doing something relevant in the story. Just a really good use of these, like, dead bodies in the background, in the backyard. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, though the portal gun got smashed, so they can't use it anymore.
Well, but that was great because it
was a great way to give them something to do.
Yeah.
I think I really want us to I think the number one promise this show made in season 1 that hasn't been delivered on is the evil Morty and this
eye patch guy.
This general idea that I think our Morty is special. And like Rick says so in that episode as kind of like a haha, we're buddies kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like as the show goes on, we more and more see how our Morty is like growing ever more cynical and more understanding.
Like how he
Rick.
literally tried to kill Rick this episode.
Yeah.
He did his best to murder Rick.
But like, other Mortys are presented as like significantly more retarded.
Yeah, that's true.
Even when we were first introduced to there being more than Mortys, like ours is supposedly the good Morty, the one that's like they tell of in legends,
True.
And in this episode, he himself is like, oh, my lawyer's a fucking Morty. Like, obviously this is unfair. So, like, even though our Morty is still, like, an idiot in some ways, like, he's definitely smarter than he's supposed to be. He's developed a lot as a person and a character. And while it's mostly made him into, like, a cynical asshole,
he still cares about Summer, though, He's become cynical, and the way that he tries to pretend that he doesn't care about Rick anymore, specifically to protect Summer, shows some real maturity and development.
Yeah. And I'm interested to know if we're gonna get like, if Morty is going to become, more of a hero, or if he's going to keep growing as, like, I kind of want to see him get out of this phase he's in of, like, really, like, depressed, kind of, like, he's really upset with, like what's going on with Rick and everything, like, it's kind of breaking him down to see this nihilistic universe.
Ending the episode the way Rick chose to is not good for healing his mental faculties at all.
I'm just wondering if we'll see Morty evolve more, or if we'll bring back the evil Morty finally. Like, that's
gotta happen. That's the number one thing we all want to see.
Because everything else has been brought back.
That's right.
This show has never had a promise that it didn't deliver on.
Right.
So that has to appear at some point.
Yep. They've got to be. These guys are way too smart to not do that.
Yeah, there must have been a plan for it in the cards. Maybe they just haven't figured out how to work it in yet.
The only danger is once that happens, like, I'll still love the show, but I always want something to look forward to.
Right.
They gotta give me something to hope for.
I'm sure we can establish more shit now.
Right. Right.
Like, there's definitively this feeling of like putting a lot of stuff behind us and being like, okay, we're tying up all these loose ends so we can introduce new shit.
Yeah.
But there's still some loose ends like evil Morty and stuff like that. But yeah, tying up the whole Beth and Jerry thing I'm so glad. I was just like, oh, thank you. Like,
yeah.
And I'm glad they did it like in kind of a glib way where they were like, look, we know you get it already. Like we've already seen, like, if they made a whole episode about them like finally getting divorced, it's like we kind of already saw that.
Yeah,
we've already seen that character arc happened.
But you know what?
So
This
why
was,
not do it flippantly?
and the way they did it quickly was really good because it actually made me like Jerry. This is probably the most I've ever liked Jerry. He's just like, you know what? This is it. I'm actually taking action in my life. I'm saying it's me or him right now, which is entirely appropriate to do because Rick is a fucking monster, more or less. And yeah, just really the right way to do it.
Yeah. What else happened in this episode?
Why don't we talk a little bit about the Szechuan sauce? Because
Yeah.
that is relevant. That's important, I think. And the discussion that's gone on around it is you know, we did a little
got
research.
Stuck in your head.
I really
Well,
feel like it's worth talking about.
Nate was telling me that this Szechuan sauce that they bring up in the episode.
It's a meme, yeah.
Yeah, I guess there was like a campaign because they're remaking Mulan.
Are they? Really?
Yeah,
Is that-
that's why it
okay.
was a campaign. Is that there's a Mulan remake, and so people were saying bring back the Szechuan sauce for the Mulan remake.
Wait, I think you're confused.
No, that's what it said on that article we were reading.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It said I mean, I know there is a Mulan remake coming, so like they were saying, hey, Rick and Morty talked about how great the Szechuan sauce was from the fucking 90s. Bring it back.
It's perfect timing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we read an article about how it wasn't coming back, and that there were people who were arguing that it was a problematic sauce.
Yeah, a
It was
problematic
cultural
fucking sauce.
appropriation of Chinese culture because of the Szechuan.
Okay, first of all, do you people even fucking understand what America is? America is a place where you bring stuff and you make it appeal to people and they buy it because they like it. It is inherent to the foundation of the nation that we combine things. If you think that it is a wrong thing to do, okay, first of all, there's a couple things we were thinking about might be the actual argument here. If you think that it is wrong for other cultures to like eat the foods that you invented in your culture, first of all, you are 100% wrong. I don't respect your opinion. Go away. If your argument is that it is somehow like, it's like evil to misrepresent a culture by like having something like a McDonald's dipping sauce that is supposed to be like a quote unquote Chinese sauce, but it like isn't spicy enough. It isn't like real Chinese. I would say that is fundamentally flawed because it is on the individual to realize that, okay, this doesn't actually represent China. This is a fucking sauce that McDonald's is selling to represent like a movie that we're making in America. It's not fucking China. So what is the actual argument that there's something like harmful about this sauce? I do not fundamentally understand this idea of cultural appropriation being bad in this context. Do you have anything to add to this point, Digi?
It's fucking McDonald's Szechuan
I know.
sauce.
Because I really...
It's just hilarious to me.
I don't want to fuck around on this issue. I want to actually address people's real concerns and respond.
I can't, like, I mean, this is what it always is.
Yeah.
Like, it's always, it's just that it's so unimportant.
Yeah.
Who the fuck cares? It's McDonald's. Like, what Chinese person is, like, upset that their culture is being besmirched by a McDonald's dipping sauce? McDonald's itself is an affront to all life and culture as it is.
Yeah.
Like, the entire existence of McDonald's is an evil scourge on our society.
American, like, burger culture is, like, poorly represented by McDonald's to begin with. So really, we should be more insulted than anyone.
Exactly. Like, it's just... Literally, who gives a fuck? Just give me the fucking Szechuan sauce. Don't be a fucking idiot.
Hilarious. Stop being a fucking chode. Jesus Christ. And you know what? We might be making a mountain out of a molehill here because we only read like one or two articles. But the fact that there's any discussion, like,
just the fact
what are you
that
doing?
I typed in Szechuan sauce Rick and Morty, and the first article
one
was, sorry Rick and Morty fans, but the problematic Szechuan sauce isn't coming back. And I immediately burst out laughing when I read that headline.
Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. I don't give a shit.
I don't know how we got onto that from a Rick and Morty discussion, but it's fucking...
They made it about that, dude.
Yeah.
The people out there made it about that. Bring it back.
And I love that, like, you know, that Rick went out of his way to do that in his memory, because of course that's something he'd care about.
That's what I love. They make that kind of like a super obscure cultural reference.
And I totally get it. Like they make it out like, oh, haha, it's Rick being silly, but I'm like, nah, man. Like, I would pretzel pub chicken sandwich from Wendy's if I had, for some reason, I was going through like memories of 2009. I'm getting a fucking pretzel pub chicken.
There's like some mushroom burger at Wendy's every once in a while that I always am on the lookout for, and it's gone most of the time.
It's like cheddar and mushrooms.
Yeah, like mushroom cheddar burger or something.
Yeah,
I want that. That's my Szechuan dipping sauce.
Right after the pretzel pub chicken, they brought in that sandwich, which was also great.
Yeah.
And then they had like a revolving door of sandwiches that were diminishing in quality as each one came in.
Well, the point of it is, that's hilarious, and, you know, it's a fucking joke. I don't understand why anyone would even be mad about it in the slightest, so let's all suck it up.
I mean, if you're gonna be mad about the sauce, just be mad about the Mulan movie in the first place, which I know people
I think they would be. I'm sure they would be. They'd make
place.
the same argument that, no, it's watering down our culture, and...
Yeah, whatever. The
you know
funny
what?
thing about that is almost every time one of those things happens, the actual culture loves it.
Yeah.
Like, most of them are, like, really happy that their culture is being represented at all.
Do actual Chinese
media,
people get really mad that, like, Mulan exists and is like, oh, this is a shitty Americanized version of our culture? Like, they got things to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for them, but I don't think they would consider it a big fucking deal.
I've seen it all the time in Japan, for instance, where like they get really excited to even have reference to Japan in an American film, you know, and they appropriate like Americans in Japanese films are the most fucking flanderized, fucking like misrepresented. We're literally all blonde cowboys who scream "fuck" and shoot guns.
Yeah,
like, that's every American character in Japan. So you know. Oh, but but racism is prejudice plus power.
That's the issue. That's the fundamental disagreement that we have here.
Anyway, anything else about this Rick and Morty episode?
Well, there's that little teaser at the end with Bird Person's back. You know, that's a little something.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I know what you mean.
I don't know.
It's a little bit disappointing,
like,
kind of.
I kind of liked that Bird Person was gone. Like, I like bringing back Tammy as like an evil.
Yeah, she's alive and relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, like she's kind of like an arch villain now. She's kind of like the big bad. She's the one who initiated all of this.
Yep.
And, I don't know what she's working for now that the world government's gone.
Shit.
So, like,
and can we just reflect on, I believe the first word we ever heard Tammy say wasn't she said, like, yeah, I'm really
bukkake.
Into bukkake. Really into bukkake.
Yeah.
And she's our main villain.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
And she's great. She's hot. She fucks.
She fucks birds. Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing that they're kind of going back on that and just reviving him like that.
But I mean, he's evil now, and I mean, they might make it like, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like when Chef died in South Park, and they brought him back as like Darth Chef, but just for like a second, you know. And, I don't know what they're gonna do with this Darth bird person.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But like,
we'll see.
Seeing it. And especially, like, just doing it as, like, a really tired reference to Star Wars was like, oh, I don't know, man. Like...
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. He looks kind of Borg-ish, too.
Yeah, cyborgy dude. We'll see. Hopefully it'll be good. Yeah. I'm not that worried. These guys are good writers.
Show,
yeah, that's the thing.
There has not been a bad episode of Rick and Morty.
Agreed.
There's been a couple...
Yeah, there's a couple like that.
M. Night Shyamalan's and Raising Gazorp are probably the two worst episodes, and those are still pretty fun.
Agreed.
I mean, fucking
I'd
M.
watch
Night
any of them.
Shyamalan's has the fucking... Yes.
Wait, which one's that again?
Yes. The one where Jerry gets trapped in a simulation.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
doesn't recognize that it's a simulation.
Oh, my man! Jesse's favorite line.
My man! Yeah, like that, even like half of that episode is amazing.
Yeah.
It's still the worst episode of the show. So, like, it's... hard to fault Rick and Morty.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll definitely be looking forward to the rest of season 3.
No doubt.
I gotta rewatch season 2 soon because I still have like the first 3 episodes because they were leaked. I watched them like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them I watched on TV and never saw again. So like. Gotta get my season 2 knowledge up to snuff, so I know all the background characters and lore references that I could look out for when season 3 gets underway. Because I'm sure any surviving character we're gonna see again.
No doubt.
That's very much a Dan Harmon thing. You haven't seen any of Community, have you?
I watched all season 1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch beyond that because I got bored.
It definitely gets better in season 2.
I like season 1 quite a bit. Well, all right, that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of the arc structure of Rick and Morty, the meta-ness, all of that is extremely like Community.
Yeah.
And obviously they can do even more on this show because it can do literally anything.
Yep.
And it's always willing to just like what I love about Rick and Morty is that it's not even that it's pushing the boundaries, it's that it's just past all of them. Like, it represents that we're kind of in an era where you can literally do anything. Like, you can go as violent as you want, you can say whatever words you want, you can fucking present the most insane concepts you've ever heard of at the drop of a hat and just keep going. There's no, like, hand-holding... you know, and I mean, you could argue that the daily life scenes are like to give retarded audiences like something to cling to. But even then, I just feel like this show can do literally anything, and it's like this is a like where is the line anymore? Like, what's holding it back? Other than it has to be 22 minutes long.
Yeah,
you know, that's like the only real thing.
And, you know, and I really do trust these writers to whatever they choose to talk about. They will do it in a hilarious, intelligent, and, like, well thought out way that fits cohesively into the overall structure of the show. So, just one of the best fucking shows I've ever seen, and definitely airing right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait for more. Please give us news about when it's coming out, people.
All right, y'all. Join us next time, whenever that is.
Whenever it is, yeah.
I mean, maybe we could, like... try to maybe do some back episodes while we're, you know, if we want to make this like a weekly show. Leading up to whenever the hell the actual show starts.
That's a good 24 weeks if we wanted to do it also,
So, yeah, I mean, we don't have to do every episode. We can just do the highlights.
I'm down.
All right, everybody. See you then.
Goodbye, Moon Man.
Goodbye, Moon Man.